Hey folks, Steve Johnson with supercub.org here. It is early in the morning on Tuesday, June 5th, and I am here to talk to you a little bit about this morning about the upcoming fly-in event at the Johnson Creek Airport happening on Father's Day weekend. Now, you may not be planning on attending this event or registering for it, but if you're in that area, I want you to be aware that it's going to be a fairly congested weekend over there. And we have some general rules and guidelines that the Idaho Department of Transportation and some other folks want us to follow to try to make it safe and nice for everybody. So if you're not familiar with the Johnson Creek Airport, please take some time to get familiar with the procedures. One of the main things is that if the conditions allow, please try to land to the south and take off to the north. This helps us avoid the White House at the end of the runway, which was the family that donated the property for the airport in the first place. They actively use that property all summer long, and we want to try to respect them as much as we possibly can during these events. So if you must land north and take off south, it's quite easy to stay away from the house, so please try to do that if you can. If the conditions are that windy that you have to make that choice, you may want to consider whether it's a good time to be flying in the mountains or not. So a couple other things that IDT has asked me to talk about, and this is the same as last year. During this event, they really would like us to avoid drag race takeoffs, short field demonstrations, smoke passes, low passes, blah, 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 all of the kind of fun things that we like to do when we're out by ourselves at a little airport. So this is not a time for aerial exhibitions or that sort of thing. We're trying to have a safe operation here. It's going to be fairly congested, and so we'd like you to observe that if you possibly can. I need to talk just a little bit about the Big Creek 4. Those of you who know who the Big Creek 4 are, these 4 airstrips that are frequently in controversy in Idaho, and whether or not we can continue to use them or not is always seeming to be the question. So at this time, the big issue is that we are trying to maintain peace and harmony with the Forest Service and other folks involved as we continue to develop a relationship to use these airstrips. So if we can avoid taking 15 airplanes at once into Mile High, or taking 10 airplanes into Vines, and make more responsible use of these areas, maybe 1 or 2, camping, those sorts of things, I think that we leave a much smaller footprint and continue to show that we can be responsible users of these resources that we have there and protect them for the future. Sorry about all the noise in the background. They're working on the railroad over there. So a couple other things. If you haven't been to Johnson Creek before, or even if you have, this year we're going to find a person, and I'm looking for the right person, frankly. So if you're interested in doing this, let me know, to operate as a bit of a safety officer or a safety contact during the event. We have a new caretaker this year. He's a guy some of us know, Jim Lane, and we're real glad to have him on board, but he'll be learning some ropes too, as this will be the first big event there. And he has some other help coming in, some old hands coming in to help him out as well too. So we want to make sure it's safe, so I'm trying to find a person that has a lot of knowledge of the area that can be helpful in establishing a safe operations at the airport. So if somebody new has questions about safety or how to operate or see something they're concerned about, we'd like to identify a person to help you with that. Of course, you can always come to me as well. I'll be on site during the entire event for the most part, so we can hook you up with the right people there if you have questions. Obviously, there's no substitute for getting good instruction and operating in the mountains. Be mindful of the environment when you are out there. Those some of us from the flatlands, those big hills are pretty tall. Last year at the event, we had some little bit of trouble with dogs running loose. In case you're not aware, the Johnson Creek Airport regulation is that dogs must be on a leash on the airport property. So let's not have dogs running around in the runway. It's not the best environment at a big fly-in to have dogs, but if you insist on bringing your pets with you, let's please be careful to keep them under control. So that's about all I can think of for now. I'm sure I've forgotten 4 or 5 things, but in a nutshell, if you're in the Johnson Creek area that Father's Day weekend, probably Thursday through Sunday, keep your eyes peeled for a lot of traffic. We'd love to see you stop in. It's a public airport. The airport is not closed during the event, and we're looking to have a great time there, and we have a lot of folks registered. So we will see you in Idaho.